Oh, kia ora koutou whānau. Welcome back to another edition of Big Hairy News with the True Meister General and me. Hey, Chewy, how are you, man?
Hello. I've had my first home cooked meal in like 3 weeks.
How's the kitchen?
We have a working cooktop. So, yeah, it's going pretty good so far.
Oh, very cool. Very excited. And what was the decision on the floors? Are you going to polish? Are you going to put vinyl down? What's the plan?
We're going to put vinyl down because our builders ripped up the carpet as well, and we have some very old lino.
Right.
And very old lino often has asbestos in it.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that ground that to a shuddering halt.
Yeah. No, good plan. Good plan. Hey, well, good to be with you. You had a good day?
Yeah, busy day at work. Yeah. But yeah, I'm glad that the kitchen's coming together. The bathroom starts on Tuesday.
Oh, so where are you going to shit for the next 3 weeks, bro?
In a bucket, I assume.
Haven't you still got that big hole in the backyard? You just use that?
No, that was short-sighted. It seems we. Oh, what's happened there? You're losing me.
I can hear you. I just can't see you. Well, I can see you. Oh no. Oh well, you're going to do your daily reboot there, Chewy. So while Chewy goes and does his daily reboot, I'm assuming is what we're going to see right now. Let's have a look at what we've got coming up to have a chat about tonight. Actually, should we do Discord tonight? I don't know. Maybe we should. We should do Discord tonight. If you're interested in having a chat with us tonight, Friday nights, we often open it up. It's a bit more relaxed and casual with what we've got to talk about. Why don't you jump on the Discord and come and have a chat? And it sort of is one of those things that if you want to have a chat and you want to come and have a chinwag, as they say, I'll put the link in the chat there. Then what you can do is jump on board, come on in. Here we go, paste. And I'll do it from DSC Studios. I'll hit paste. So all I've just done is put the Discord link in the thing. Is you can pick up on anything that you've heard from the week, anything that you've been involved with, having a chat during the week, anything like that. You're welcome to be involved with in the Discord if you want to come have a chat any stage during the night. And if you want to do that, all you need to do is log into a Discord and drag yourself into the waiting room. And if we see you there at some stage, we'll pull you across and have a bit of a chat for Friday. So you're back, Chewy. You've killed that mouse and got the new one running in the wheel.
Absolutely. Yes, it's a fucking piece of software that keeps on saying, "Oh, you want me to run your camera, don't you?" And I bloody don't.
You should fix that.
I should.
Gosh. All right. I've had a busy old day. One of the busy old days I've had has been doing a little bit of what's the French word? Trolling, trolling or something. I can no longer get on our friend Karen Plunkett's Facebook page because I've been banned today in the bastion of free speech. But maybe you could bring it up for us, seeing you can still get access to it. And there was a conversation going on. The first thing that's hilarious about this page tonight and your fantastically vertical screen you've got there is scroll down a bit and scroll onto the part of the thing that's got the BFD. He's posted a BFD article, and the BFD article basically says they are not the platform is not the resistance. It doesn't even make a joke about it. I would have said they're just a very naughty boy, but they've said they're not the resistance. And if you want to have a look at the comments in there about it not being the resistance, basically Sean Plunkett, for some ungodly known reason, has put an article on his Facebook from a competitor saying these guys are a pile of shit. And probably from memory, 2/3 of the comments on Sean Plunkett's Facebook page are, yeah, we agree. The platform is a pile of shit. if you can see any that you want to read out, you're more than welcome. We can't see them so much, but that's basically what the BFD. The BFD is a new incarnation of whale oil, so it's Cam Slater's baby. Someone's written a piece on there that basically points out, and it's quite ironic actually, because the piece on BFD is talking about how Sean is deluded when it comes to the vaccine. In other words, the piece on the BFD wants the platform to be further conspiratorial. So one of the reasons, and this is the grift we've been talking about, that Sean Plunkett is finding trouble, is that the people he has been grifting to are now saying you're not going far enough into the conspiracy theories, and they're giving responses such as, do you want to have a read of something that's coming up there, Chewy?
There is the straw that broke the camel's back. Was a big fan. I even bought a hat. But sadly, Sean has lost it. Bye-bye platform. I'll just watch and listen to Marty on YouTube.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
how do you recover from that?
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that going on.
Splendidly written. All the good points made. Chilling one being, it's the first time the Fourth Estate has sided with tyrants.
So that's when it says splendidly written, that's talking about the critical piece of the platform that Sean Plunkett shared on his Facebook page. So you can see it's comment after comment after comment agreeing with Cam Slater's page that, again, Sean Plunkett shared, saying that the platform is based, I'm using the word grift, but is basically grifting. They're saying they're fighting the resistance and they're not. Yeah. The fake platform pretended to be open, tolerant, and free by bullying a caller. This is the thing. These people are saying that Sean Plunkett's being a bully because he's not allowing the conspiracy theorists to spread their conspiracy theories. Whereas the truth is they're right. He is being a bully, but they're at the wrong end of the stick, because those are the opinions that should be getting shut down because they're not, because they're ridiculous. But the point is, it seems that Sean can't not do that to people. In fact, there was comments I read the other day about him going off at one of the people in this camp, and basically he yells at everybody. So I think what he's turned into is a complete get off my lawn, yelling at everybody. And anyway, so what happened today, as I'm going to steal the screen off you, as a part of that thread, what's that French word again? Trolling? Trolling.
Only if it's from that particular part of France. Otherwise, it's just sparkling cyberbullying
from the Bordeaux region, something like that. So someone what's called Andrew put a comment on this, and sorry for the vertical here, but I just did screenshots off my phone before I got banned. Someone said, Sean, did you get money from the government? To which Sean said, of course, no. Because that's his thing. And then I decided I'd get involved. And so I put a comment on that talk to Andrew that said Sean had received hundreds of thousands of dollars from the government in numerous roles he has had over the decades as a broadcaster. He was okay to take government money when working for RNZ and TVNZ, and only now that it seems an issue when he is not eligible for any. When he was getting it, it was ethical. It only now seems to think that it's not. Also, his funder's education business get $200 million a year of public funding. So whether it's in the past, which is given Sean his profile, or via his funders now, there is no logical path to say that Sean Plunkett didn't then and doesn't still now benefit from government money, even if today he doesn't receive the check, and that's cut off there. But I said straight from the beehive. In other words, the $200 million going to his funders, he's not receiving that check with Sean Plunkett's name on it, but he's certainly receiving a benefit from that money. To which he responded by saying, you are a moron. It's called a salary, to which I pointed out, just like all those salaries involved in the public interest journalism fund is paying for today. And then I called him sweetheart. And I don't know if that was the thing that upset him the worst. And then pointed out, of course, do you think that there's a bit of hypocrisy here when you say RNZ gets a fund of money from the government and pays journalists good? Somewhere like the Newsroom or Spinoff gets a fund of money and pays their journalists with it bad. And then we went into a conversation around that eventually ended up having with me saying to him, the grift that you're making, people are seeing through it, and you won't be commercially viable. I didn't get screenshots of these, but I'm relaying what was said. And business mummy and daddy will probably have to stump up with some more money for you when this runs out, because there won't be advertisers. To which he started telling me to take my meds and go back to my therapist, to which I said, this is what happens when you back someone into a corner with logic and reasoning. They come out with moronic statements. To which he said something else to me, which I didn't see because I was then banned. So I just,
that's the best form of answer.
Yeah. Free speech, remember? Free speech.
It's the easiest way to get the final word.
So I don't often do that, like we've had instances on for this show on on Twitter where people have been having a crack at us. I don't tend to engage, but it's just too delightful talking to Karen. He's just so much fun. Because I just love it, and I had to today, and so I've been banned off. I wonder if it's got anything to do with us highlighting the conversation last night with David Farrier as well. He might have his knickers in a twist over that a little bit as well. But as Sean will say, the 7 people that see us aren't all that important, and I'm like, yeah, there might only be 7 people that see us, but when he doesn't exist anymore, we might be up to 10 by then, and he won't exist. So that's when we'll finally win.
We may be small, but we're perfectly formed.
We are. So there you go. That was my fun day, Chewy. Not such a fun day in the UK for one particular prime minister there, though, was it?
A great day for a head of lettuce, though.
Yeah, I just read that story.
That is my favorite thing, that I woke up this morning to all of these tweets going, the lettuce won, and I instantly knew what it was talking about. For those of you that don't know, someone put up a live stream of a head of lettuce with a picture of Liz Truss next to it, and people were betting on who would last longer, the lettuce or Liz Truss, and the lettuce has won. So I think by tradition, the lettuce is now PM.
Yeah. And here's something that's really intriguing, because I found this yesterday. So we woke up this morning basically to finding out that Liz Truss is gone after 45 days. That's why I think you'll notice it's my comedy side coming out, Chewy, quite funny, that the title of today's show is called Truss Gone by Brunch Time, because she didn't even last long enough to make it till lunch time. So she was gone by brunch time. Anyway, I noticed, I actually saw this yesterday, but didn't bring it onto the show. And I thought I'm going to play it today, because it's a little bit like, when the Queen died, I'd seen the night before reports saying that people were concerned for the Queen's health, and the next day she died, and I was like, oh gosh, that actually story meant something. I saw this story last night before we came on, did nothing with it, but it's a story about a Tory MP and how fucking pissed off he was yesterday about what was happening in his party. So now that we know that Liz Truss is gone, this can be seen in a different context. This was from yesterday, a Tory MP about what was going on in his party. And remembering, sorry, not to tell you how to suck eggs, but think when you hear Tory, think National, the centre right to right party in the UK. Here we go.
This whole affair is inexcusable. It is a pitiful reflection on the Conservative Parliamentary Party at every level. This is an absolute disgrace. As a Tory MP of 17 years, who's never been a minister, who's got on with it loyally most of the time, I think it's a shambles and a disgrace. I think it is.
So portray this again. This is someone in Liz Truss's party. So imagine this was a Labour Party MP who wasn't trying to burn the house down like Gaurav Sharma, but saying this about the Prime Minister, or if it was a National Party MP saying this about Christopher Luxon. So this is someone who is in the party in power right now, who is in the party of the Prime Minister saying these things yesterday.
Utterly appalling.
So you seem quietly...
I'm livid. And, I really shouldn't say this, but I hope all those people that put Liz Truss in number 10, I hope it was worth it. I hope it was worth it for the ministerial red box. I hope it was worth it to sit round the cabinet table, because the damage they have done to our party is extraordinary.
I'm sorry, it's very difficult to convey. You look just furious about this.
I am. I've had enough. I've had enough of talentless people putting their tick in the right box, not because it's in the national interest, but because it's in their own personal interest to achieve ministerial position. And I know I speak for hundreds of backbenchers who right now are worrying for their constituents all the time, but now worrying about their own personal circumstances, because there is nothing as an ex-MP.
So there you go. So now 24 hours later, knowing that Liz Truss then stood down, there has some pretty strong words to it. Spin-off came out quite quickly today and gave a bit of a rundown here as to all your questions answered about the demise of Liz Truss, but they've done a lovely little section which has said what pushed her over the edge. The short version: she alienated the wing of the party that had helped elect her, while also pissing off everybody else after causing serious harm to the economy and cratering her party's polls. So I've got some video to play from news tonight, Chewy, but do you want to jump in on any of that while we're starting?
Well, one little thing that I saw this morning was, okay, so she was PM for 45 days.
Yep.
She still qualifies for £115,000 annually allowance for the rest of her life
Really?
because of that. So, fucking hell, I'd be livid. At the moment, I'm looking around. I saw a very interesting graph about if the election was held today in the UK.
Well, we said last night that Labour, or not Labour, the left over there, it was something like 30 or 33 points ahead in the polls. And just to say what Katy has said in here, if they don't call a general election, they should allow us a vote on Scottish independence.
Oh, 100%.
But they won't call a general election because the Tories are over 30 points behind in the polls. So of course they're not going to, because if they call a general election now, they're going to need to try and see what they can do to get as much of that vote back to have as good a result as they can. So I think the idea of a general election is slim to none. But yeah, I don't disagree with Katy, but I think the reality is I don't think that's likely.
Yeah.
So let's have a look then at there's a couple of stories here on One News. We'll just have a look at the story off One News just to give people a complete update as to what's going on with Liz Truss. So here's the story from One News tonight. Obviously breaking news, the main news story of the day with the Silver Fox, Simon Dallow.
The race is now on for the UK to find a new Prime Minister. After a chaotic time at the top, Liz Truss has bowed to the pressure and quit. She makes the record books as Britain's shortest serving leader, just 45 days in charge. The slide began with a tax-cutting mini-budget and economic gamble she'd lost. The markets plummeted, the pound tanked, the finance minister was sacked. And the breaking point? Yesterday's resignation of the Home Secretary and shambolic voting scenes in Parliament. She's the fourth Prime Minister in 6 years.
Just so you know, that clip that I played from that MP was straight after what had happened in the House. So the shambolic scenes from yesterday in the House, then we saw that clip that I just played, that was straight after it. And that's why he was so furious about what was going on.
Remember this lot? So who's next? Well, Boris Johnson's name is being thrown around again, but he's got baggage, of course, booted out just weeks ago by his own MPs. We'll cross live to Europe correspondent May Heron shortly for analysis. First, her report on the disarray at Downing Street.
Outside the government's gates, bewilderment and rage. Inside, the humiliating end to a chaotic political death spiral. Liz Truss's resignation speech, a surrender to the inevitable.
I came into office at a time of great economic
a month and a half
international
ago.
Instability. Families and businesses were worried.
That's normally the sentence you start with when you finish by, I leave the office in a better state. You know, I came into office when things were economically, that was 6 weeks ago. Off we go.
About how to pay their bills.
In fact, after her record-smashing 45 days in charge, those worries are worse.
I was elected by the Conservative Party with a mandate to change this.
Instead, she triggered a financial market meltdown, sacked 2 of her top ministers, and had her unfunded tax cut plans ripped to shreds.
I recognise, though, given the situation, I cannot deliver the mandate on which I was elected.
What she did deliver was a political implosion and an already suffering nation more instability.
Well, what a mess. And this is not just a soap opera at the top of the Tory party. It's doing huge damage to our economy and to the reputation of our country.
On the brink of recession, Britain's...
And saying that as well, though, I think I heard today, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chewy, or anyone out there that's watching, it will be the 5th Prime Minister coming up in 6 years. So this ain't all on the Tories, because that goes back into the left's, Labour's time as well.
That's fair. Like, both parties have had terrible leadership and no cohesion. Even when they've had a particular, someone that could be good, their party hasn't been behind them. So it's all it's a shambles over there at the moment.
Yep. Let's keep going.
Now set to get its 5th Conservative Prime Minister within 6 years.
Oh, there you go.
There is a feeling the government is playing politics while the country is going through an economic crisis. You have cost of living, energy and mortgages all skyrocketing. So there is very little appetite for a tumultuous, drawn-out leadership race.
I think whoever comes in does need to, be willing to take on them problems as, effectively and quickly as possible.
Conservative MPs will choose their next leader in a week, maybe less, topping potential candidates Rishi Sunak, who lost out to Ms Truss. and for us, a more familiar face.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Boris Johnson was saying goodbye less than 2 months ago, now reportedly returning from a Caribbean holiday to join the race. And despite his calamitous reign, support remains.
I think he'd got some vision of things that could go right.
But with the opposition streets ahead in polls, many Britons say they should choose
a general election. I think it's been just too many changes, too many people. They need a reset. General election.
In Britain, politics now moving at a dizzying speed, confirmed by the Queen just 6 weeks ago. Overnight, Liz Truss had to notify the King she was standing down.
Yeah, wow.
Stability now this nation's winter wish.
And our Europe correspondent May Heron.
I think it's enough. We don't need to see the rest of the actual report because there's other things to get into as well. I mean, there's another actual report from One News we could look at as well. But thoughts, Joey?
That clip of her meeting with King Charles, have you seen the one with the audio?
No.
So what Charles is saying is she's coming in, she does a little curtsy. He goes, "Oh, you again." And then Liz says something, and he's like, yeah, sure. Like, so dismissive. He clearly can't stand her. Yeah. I have found that graph.
Let me say, before you do that, let me say my correction. It didn't go back into the Labour Party. It was 5 Conservative Prime Ministers. So correction, let's get it out there. When it's wrong, we want to fix it. So yeah,
but,
it's
confusing because
that's even worse.
The Labour Party was having its own troubles at that stage. So there hasn't been any coherent leadership choice, a strong united party for anybody to choose. It's also worth bearing in mind that the British system is still first past the post, so God help them.
It does also make me think as well when I hear that. I mean, like 5 prime ministers in 6 years. Does this lend? And I'm not saying the UK or New Zealand or anyone else would go towards a president, especially not the UK with the royal family there. But does this lend towards, like, obviously the MPs can't pick a leader because if they've had to pick 5 in 6 years, they can't do the job. Is this leaning towards giving the public more of a say on who leads the country as an individual? I mean, I've said for a long time, one of the things I'd love to see introduced into politics here in New Zealand is if the prime minister, because like let's say that Jacinda Ardern stood down, that means there could be a new prime minister voted from the cabinet. In other words, 30, 40 people decide who's the prime minister. I don't think that's appropriate. I think that especially if, like, let's say that Labour was to get in next time around, which I think is unlikely at the moment, looking at it, but let's say that they are. And let's say that a week after Labour got in, Jacinda Ardern stood down. That means then the Labour then government could nominate a new leader who would be prime minister. Now, I would argue that should Labour, and forget it's Labour, pick National under Luxon then, same argument. Should Labour get in with Jacinda Ardern as the prime minister? One of the reasons they've gotten in is people were voting for the Labour Party led by Jacinda Ardern or the National Party led by Christopher Luxon. And I think if the Prime Minister does move or step down, then it should be a new election because that's who we're voting for. We're voting for the party led by that person, not just the party. And maybe this is an example of it. I mean, the MPs in the UK can't pick a leader. They've had 5 in 6 years.
I mean, I think this is something that we quite often forget is that we're voting for the party, not the leader. Obviously, the leader is part of the party, and that's what a lot of people vote on.
I think what you're saying is right. But I think what you're saying is right technically. I think you're saying that's the rules, but I don't think that's how people vote. People were voting for John Key. People were voting last time around. Well, last time around, probably they were voting for COVID, COVID response. But they were voting for John Key. They were voting for Helen Clark. They were voting for, whoever else has been our prime minister. So I understand what you're saying, and what you're saying is technically correct. But what I'm saying is I don't think that's the voting habits of people.
Yeah,
I think that maybe how they have the Waka jumping rule has to be within 6 months of the next election. Maybe that some rule could be introduced that if a prime minister resigns, pulls out, gets toppled within 12 months of a general election, that's okay. But anytime beyond that, there has to be a new general election, because I don't know. I stand by it. I stand by the idea that we vote for a party led by a person, and if the party decides to change that person, that's not the entity we've voted for.
Yeah. Unsure. I think the other aspect that the UK has to deal with is because they're first past the post, and because of how things have been, they have a huge swathe of their electorate that is just not engaged. They don't feel like their vote counts.
Yeah, sure.
Everything that's wrong with first past the post is happening in England at the moment. There's an underclass. There's whole parts of the country that think the Conservative Party doesn't represent or give a single shit about them, because they haven't historically, and that's what's happening now. I've got to put it up. That's amazing.
Put it up again. Put it up again. I was just off the screen. I want to have a look at it again.
Yeah.
I had the screen down for a second.
There we go. Have I put it up? No, I haven't put it up. There we go. That's the lettuce and their friends. That's their celebration party. I love that.
I think I saw someone in the comments making I think it was Nick, made a very funny comment about someone will start up a lettuce that only takes 45 days to. Can I find it? Can I find it? Can I find it? Can I find it? Or can you find it before me? Anyway,
the other thing I was going to put up was this. Bam. So if the election was held today, red, obviously Labour, yellow, SNP, orange, Liberal Democrats, and blue's Conservative. That is pretty devastating.
And that will be under FPP, though, those results?
That is apparently just from a poll.
From the polls, yeah.
From a Twitter poll.
Wow.
People's polling, at People's Polling on Twitter. So I'm not sure of their methodology, but that is certainly doing the rounds at the moment.
There you go. Someone will develop a new strain of lettuce grown in 45 days, calling it the Truss lettuce.
Katie also had a good point here. 10 of those 45 days she couldn't work because of the Queen's death. Far out. Return on investment on that is amazing. My other favorite nugget of knowledge about Liz Truss is that she comes from an incredibly left-leaning family.
Really?
Yeah. She's the black sheep.
Well, it's a balls up, isn't it? I mean, and I guess the other thing, I spoke to Robert Patman this afternoon. We couldn't get him because he had some stuff on. I might talk to him tomorrow. We're not going to be here Monday night because it's Labor Day, but maybe if I get a chance to talk to Robert tomorrow, maybe I'll upload that to play out on Monday night because we're not going to be here. So just to put something up for people. And what I wanted to know is, like, obviously what it means for the UK, but I wonder what if anything, this means for us. Obviously, the Labour Party here in New Zealand is now going to go, we'll see what happens when you go with right-wing ideologies and politics. You know, your country blows up. And I guess we've already heard it yesterday. We played some audio from Christopher Luxon saying, well, the UK is very, very different, very, very different indeed. But I don't know whether will this hurt National in New Zealand? Will this help them? Will this do nothing? I don't know the answer to that. I mean, if you've got a position on that, Chewie, I'd love to hear it.
I think I would hope that people in National can read the tea leaves of this and see that coming out at a time of economic stress on a lot of people and saying, you know what, we're going to fix it by giving the rich a tax cut is incredibly transparent, is ideological in the extreme, and just does not face the reality that the rest of us are facing.
I wonder if this will flow on, but I wonder if it'll also flow on around the world, because trickle-down economics has never worked. There's no example of it working. In fact, if anything, they should reverse it, and it should be trickle-up economics, because if you give it to the people at the bottom, they are going to spend it. Trickle-down doesn't work because people put it into their stocks and bonds and savings because they don't need to spend it. If they don't need to spend it, they're not going to spend it. Anyway, I wonder if this is one of the first times in Western society that this idea of if we give the top earners a massive break, it's going to flow on, and it's really backfired. I wonder if it's the start of something around the rest of the world. I wonder if it's a start of pushback against like National's plan for, scrapping the top tax rate or whatever else they're going to do, because either it doesn't work or public are pushing back against it, or both.
Yep. And look, I don't know if it's just how much time I spend on social media and the hellscape that is Twitter. Like we've got so many billionaires with so much power, so much shitty opinions. I'm looking at you, Elon Musk. And people are sitting there going, why is this happening? How is it happening? Why do we have to put up with it? At some point, right, there's got to be a tipping point. Does it feel like we're getting towards that tipping point?
Maybe. Like
with really disconnected leadership and just like there is a massive transfer of wealth going on, and there has been for like 50 years. It's just being compressed at the top. So you're right. It's not triple up. It's like we stop the flow here and it just backs up like a toilet. So yeah, I don't know. Like at what point does the middle classes, the working classes, just look around and go, this is fucking bullshit?
Yeah. But one other big question is what you've just said about Elon Musk, but would you own a Tesla? I mean, that's the big question of the day. Would you buy a Tesla?
No. I've thought about that. I mean, I want an electric car. Teslas are apparently good. I can't get round it.
So your personal opinion of Elon Musk and his business practice would stop you from buying that kind of vehicle? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. If I had the money today and I could go out and buy it, I would choose a different option.
BYD.
Because of Elon Musk. And I mean, that's what he does. There's a lot of weird nerds on the internet that love Elon and everything that comes out of his mouth. But this myth that he's built around himself of being this innovator, this inventor, he's not. He's someone who buys companies. He didn't invent Tesla. He bought it. Yeah. He didn't invent SpaceX. He bought it. He didn't pull himself up by the bootstraps. He came to America with a pocket full of fucking apartheid era sapphires. Like, it's fucking weird, but people love him, and I don't get it.
How much was he involved and responsible for PayPal? Because that's where he made his money, in PayPal.
Yeah. Now that's we're on a tangent now. I love this. So he was a part founder of PayPal with Peter Thiel.
Yeah.
Who is another one of my favorite. He's obviously a New Zealand citizen because he spent less than 12 days here and gave Christchurch some money when it fell over. We are New Zealand's bolt hole, but Peter is a rabid libertarian. And there are questions of whether it goes even further than that along racial lines and that sort of thing. And he's involved in developing facial recognition software, which is terrifying. I think it's called Planetaire, which is named after something in Lord of the Rings, the all-seeing eye. Now, if that doesn't give you the fucking heebies, that someone that wants to build a bunker in Wanaka for when the world goes tits up, when a coming race war comes, and he can bugger off down here because he's got a passport and a bunker, and protected by facial recognition software and a private army. I don't know what would rattle you, but I want to jump on one of his competitors' website and order a guillotine from Amazon. It's not good. No bueno.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but I think this is planetaire.com. Is this what you're talking about?
Yeah, so
we build software that empowers organizations to effectively integrate their data, decisions, and operations.
Yeah,
like is this the right place? Because if it's
I am not 100% sure. How did you spell it? Can't see it there.
Peter Thiel, Wikipedia.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, Palantir or something.
Palantir. Anyway,
but yeah, it's involved in developing facial recognition software. Apparently, it's very good at what it does, which is identified people in the street as you're walking around.
It seems like tonight's going to be a bit of a tangenty type night, not quite as maybe news driven as we often do, because we're just tangented on there. And there's other thing I wanted to talk about tonight, which was kind of brought up 2 nights in a row, but haven't got to, is the Eminem cancel Eminem hashtag going around at the moment as well. So maybe
why do we have to cancel Eminem?
Wow, thanks for asking.
We can cancel Elon Musk.
Cancel Elon Musk. I actually, speaking of Elon Musk, I read again the other day that the Twitter thing was potentially back on. The purchase is potentially back on, and it's. I wonder if people like yourself and certainly me are now going, I see what you did last time. I see what you did. You kind of started to leak all these things out there to increase your fees and increase your profits from your purchase of the percentage. Now, anyway, you're just doing that again, and then you're going to sell it all out. It's like, I don't know. But I saw that coming up anyway. Cancel Eminem is out at the moment. There's a new hashtag. It's not just Eminem, but it's kind of focusing more heavily on Eminem because last year Gen Z TikTokers wanted to cancel Eminem. So there was something that happened last year, right? And it's come back up again, and I'll explain why. It's not for the same reason, but I think because of Eminem tried to be cancelled once before. And I don't know if you know of Eminem, you'll know that he's not the kind of person that I think particularly would be cancelable. But what happened was there was a campaign for Eminem to be cancelled. It came from a TikTok user, not one person, who played a snippet from Love the Way You Lie in his 2010 collaboration with Rihanna, which is taken from his recovery album. The song includes the lyrics, "If she ever tries to fucking leave again, I'ma tie her to the bed and set the house on fire." TikTok fans have since gone on to condemn Eminem, which often influence violence towards women. How have Eminem fans responded to TikTok to cancel Eminem? Eminem fans have argued that Eminem has far worse lyrics. I don't know if that's the best defense. Like, you beat me up. Yeah, but I beat up other people far worse than that, so it doesn't really matter. I don't know if that's a particularly good thing. But here's something that I was going to play, right? And I can't tell you for sure whether this was from the latest cancel Eminem, because there's no date on it, or from the one 12 months ago. But this was a bit of a response, and I'm going to play this to you. It's forgive me if you think that this is not up to standard, but it's I guess a 35-year-old, 30-year-old woman rapping about people trying to cancel Eminem. And there's one thing in here that I actually want to pull out, but let's have a listen to what she's got to say.
Now listen up, Gen Z, because I've had enough of it. This whole cancel culture. Damn, y'all are so sensitive. At first I ignored it, but now you crossed the line by going after a very dear friend of mine. You want to cancel Eminem because he's too aggressive and mean. Your feelings are hurt. You wish his lyrics were more clean. How dare he openly speak about such violent things like murdering his wife? Now we're all arguing about whether or not to play his music on air. This generation thinks they control what's not theirs, trying to cancel what you weren't around for in the first place. How about instead you just learn to embrace Eminem's a lyricist. He paved the way for your favorite rappers to say what they can say today. If you can understand them, that is, I don't have a clue. Maybe that's the difference between millennials and you. You can't get offended by what someone's saying when they're mumbling and stumbling over the words, and it's crumbling to think a generation that's so open-minded can't appreciate this and put the past behind them.
So one of the things I kind of love about that to talk to, Joey, is this is a millennial telling Gen Zs to be more open-minded. And this is a millennial saying to Gen Zs, but this was in the past. Why are you worried about it? And I just wanted to say to this millennial, hi, Gen X calling, are you aware of the irony of what you're saying to the people younger than you now, that they're being overly sensitive and that they're trying to maybe drag into today a standard of something from yesterday? I found that to be fairly amusing. But also, and I wanted to ask you about this, Joey, being a stand-up comedian. If indeed the current young generation, the 18 to 25-year-olds, are really that sensitive about someone's art, right? Talking about Eminem, what is the future for creative expression on this planet if people are like saying you can't do, you can't do, you can't do, you can't do? You must have, I mean, you standing up in front of crowds and doing a stand-up. I'm not saying this exact question mustn't have gone through your mind, but you must have, these conversations must happen in green rooms about, you know, what's to be said, what can be said, what can't be said.
Absolutely. Are Eminem's lyrics distasteful? At times, yes. But I think he's always been pretty clear that it's kind of a character that he's doing. As far as cancel culture, and you just can't make jokes anymore. You can't say, you can absolutely say whatever the fuck you want. I can get up on an open mic tomorrow and drop some of the most offensive, room killing shit in the world. Will anyone come after me? No. Will anyone come and see me again? Probably not.
Really?
That's not being cancelled.
No. I agree with you.
That's just not having a product that people want. Is Eminem in that position? No. Is this really a thing that's happening to Eminem? Does he care? No, probably not.
No, certainly doesn't care.
But do you know what does generate traffic? What brings clicks to your news story and that? Cancel culture.
Headlines.
Some ridiculous thing has come out of Twitter, and everybody's after the thumbs up emoji. Not a single fucking person. I had someone say to me the other day that spinning off from the whole trans conversation with kids that are trans, kids are identifying as furries now. And he was trying to tell me that this was an actual thing, and I looked into it, and it's just a right-wing piece of hyperbole.
Did he bring up the kitty litters in the toilets at school?
Yeah,
Did he
kitty
bring that
litters
up?
in the school toilets. And
Disproven
that's
dozens
the
of
thing.
times over. Yeah.
So many times. But he relayed it to me, apparently from someone that works in teaching and swears black and blue that this is a thing. And it's absolutely not. And that's the thing. These stories can just spiral. But yeah, I don't think Eminem's got anything to worry about. I don't think anyone's coming from his gold records or his mansions. There's an argument there. Some of his stuff is really distasteful. It's misogynistic. It's violent.
But it's also
everything that they're saying.
But it's also created from his real world experience. It's a little bit like Saving Private Ryan is one of the most violent and shocking films you will watch. There's a scene in that where a guy gets a bayonet driven into his chest almost in slow motion, and it's visceral, it's revolting, it's disgusting. But you speak to people when it was released who were in those wars, and they were like, it's the most realistic adaptation. So just because it's the most violent thing you'll ever see doesn't mean it's bad. Might be accurate for Eminem. The words he speaks and the language he tells and the stories he tells are from his life and are from what's going on. So therefore it is his real world experience, so to speak. As abhorrent as that would be to a bunch of people, how do you then go, so therefore you can't do it? It's a bizarre thing.
I mean, you can go further. You can go into movies and stuff like that. Look, we're in the spooky season. There's heaps of horrible, violent horror movies out there that have questionable messages and that sort of thing. But no one's canceling horror. Horror. Yeah, it's like we've probably said it now. That'll be the next one.
What? So
Gen Z is coming for horror.
Well, the last question is, how do you feel about millennials telling Gen Zs not to be so sensitive? That's pretty hilarious.
I mean, do you have an experience of a particular generation being too serious, not letting this slide, or is it just the headlines that we're talking about?
Well, like I said, reading that story, it talked about spouting from one TikTok user. So, but that's how things start, I guess. Let me just flush. Oh, you go. Sorry.
1 second. Just as far as a story that this is again very tangential, but a story that I have been following as it's developed. Have you seen about KFC?
No. What's happening there?
So I read an 872 word story on the Herald, I think it started, about people commenting on social media that the potato and gravy from KFC has changed somehow and now tastes gross and chemical and possibly soapy. What is going on? KFC was asked for comment. KFC did not provide comment. So we have asked the Ministry of Primary Enterprises for comment. It's like I have seen 5 updates to this story in the past 2 days. But you know what? It's because people click on it. It's so dumb. It is so dumb. Oh, now they're up to make your own potato. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah. Yeah, but my favorite bit was the first time I read it, that last line, we have reached out to the Ministry of Primary Enterprises for comment. And I'm sure they're going to jump on that one. We've got to answer this KFC question.
Now let's flesh out the story as to why I brought up why previously Eminem was under the radar. What's happened? Have you seen the Dahmer documentary, the television series on Netflix?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
so
it was super creepy.
So I'm halfway through it, and halfway through it, it's soup creep, because I haven't got all the way through to be super creepy. So it's just soup creep right now. But what's happening today is that musicians are being called out for referencing Jeffrey Dahmer in their lyrics. Part of me kind of goes, fucking morons, do you not know who Jeffrey Dahmer was before Netflix fed it to you like a bunch of blimmin', calves on the teat? It's like Jeffrey Dahmer was still Jeffrey Dahmer in 2010, and no one had a problem with it. Anyway, no one had a problem with the lyrics. Katy Perry, Kesha, Eminem as well, all being called out for lyrics that they've used in songs that kind of glorified Jeffrey Dahmer. Eminem was also referenced Dahmer. I'm in not one, but 3 of his songs. In 2013's Brainless, he raps, because I'd probably be Dahmer. Dahmer's name dropped and also be heard on the 2009 songs Must Be the Ganger and Bagpipes from Baghdad. Katy Perry gets called out in Dark Horse. There's one line, this will probably get us kicked off YouTube, but it's not even actually Katy Perry singing it. It goes like this. She eats your heart out like Jeffrey Dahmer. So this is why the cancel go full circle, cancel Eminem's come back up, along with a bunch of other people as well. So it's it's a fascinating delve into a couple of things. One is how people can, if you're trying to make an analogy of something serious and horrific, then it's okay to use a serious and horrific example to make that analogy. That's the point. But for these idiots out there who didn't realize that Jeffrey Dahmer was a bit of an abhorrent story until Netflix told them that they were, I'm just like, dude, I wouldn't trust you to sit the right way on a toilet seat. It's like it was that bad. He was that bad of a guy 12 months ago, and you didn't know the story of Jeffrey Dahmer. And only when you get fed it, like KFC potato and gravy, do you then start making noises about it because you've just learned about Jeffrey Dahmer. Oh, go fuck off. Go fuck yourself. Anyway.
You just reminded me one of my favorite artists that I'm sure almost no one has heard about, a guy called Amigo the Devil. He has a song called Dahmer Goes to Hollywood. Oh, sorry, Dahmer Does Hollywood, which goes through and references Jeffrey Dahmer
47 times.
Yeah, like so many times. And I mean, this is another thing. Like if I'm thinking of another artist that has really distasteful stuff, it is this guy. He's got a song here called the Perfect Wife, and he's like, there we go. I took her little fingers as a souvenir of her playing piano. What a talented wife. And it turns out that his wife's dead. It's horrible murder stuff. But yeah, like there's artists that they'll play a character. They'll tell us something. I mean, I know I'm falling into the trap of, there are comedians that do the same thing. They're playing a character. But yeah, an entire generation is coming for this thing as it's cancelled. I think 99 times out of 100, that story is bullshit.
Yeah, I also think that you can joke or talk or sing about anything. A lot of the time, it's just if it's good enough. I mean, things can be crowbarred in to a joke or to a story or to a song or to a movie. And normally you can tell if they've been crowbarred in for either, to placate a community or for shock value or for something else. But if it makes sense as to why that, whatever that thing is in that piece of art, then it makes sense. And I guess on some level, even going one step beyond, even if it doesn't make sense to me, doesn't mean necessarily it still doesn't make sense. I mean, who are any of us to tell us what an artist, what they're supposed to do and how they're supposed to do it, if it's their art? So I don't know. I always say, and I've said it before on the show, if I was to err one way or the other, it's always about more speech, more expression than less. It's not a cover-all. I wouldn't support and broadcast any speech, but if I'm leaning one way, it's always leaning towards just leave us the fuck alone and let us do and say what we want. That's what I would
Can
mean.
you think of an artist, performer, comedian, anyone in that? Let's just keep it to performing arts that has actually been cancelled, like properly. Your career is over.
Well, I tell you what, Kevin Spacey is a really interesting one because this is the headline that just came out today.
Yep.
If you want to look this up,
yep, I'll give you that one. But I
Kevin,
mean,
but have you heard? But hang on, have you heard the latest?
No,
because Kevin Spacey wasn't found guilty of anything. I understand.
No.
And I think in the last 24 hours, there's been the court case that's just been released, which was the civil case, and he's been found not liable in that as well. So if he hasn't committed a crime, and I'm not so sure about the crime one, but if he's not found liable of any damages and he hasn't been convicted of any crimes, is that an example of someone who's been cancelled?
Because I mean, I always go to Louis C.K.
Yep.
Who was someone that was held up as being cancelled. He was gone for just over a year.
And then came back and won the Grammy. Oh, more than a year, I think.
Yeah, like he was winning awards while he was cancelled. And say J.K. Rowling, still doing work, still getting royalty checks, still being a horrible, horrible person.
I think the idea about let's just separate this out. I think being cancelled doesn't mean not earning, because royalties will come if you commit a horrific crime and go to jail. Your estate will still get royalty checks, But I think to me, the idea of being cancelled, and I don't really buy into the cancel culture, but the idea of that is you've sort of been removed from society. So let's say this, cancelling is a real thing, but sometimes it's appropriate. Bill Cosby has been cancelled. Now, there's a reason why Bill Cosby
famously
has been
all the way to prison.
Yeah, well, no, he's out, but he's done, right? But that's appropriate. So he's been cancelled and it's appropriate. The conversation is, has anyone been cancelled and it been inappropriate? And I think you do struggle to find people. There are people, I guess, who have lost work and lost job and lost income. And I'm sure there is going to be someone who comes to mind from someone watching or listening who then has not gotten it back again. But then if you think about J.K. Rowling, I think she's worth over $1 billion. Even if she had been cancelled, who gives a fuck?
Doesn't give any fuck.
No, of course not.
And I mean, I guess I would want to, like, if I was talking about something cancelled, I would want to see some sort of impact that is higher than you put out one bad book that didn't sell very well, or one bad album, or you did a comedy special that somebody didn't really like. Something with more impact than that. I'm like, you're having a nice restaurant meal with your family and someone comes and spits on you because you're a bastard. That would be more like it.
Rose says I think it must be the Kevin Spacey, that it wasn't proving clever way of saying it. It's not that he didn't do it, just enough for the finding. Yeah, but I think that might be the criminal case. But I think then it was also found not liable of any money to pay to the and I'm going to say alleged victim as opposed to victim, because I don't know all the circumstances. But to the person bringing the complaint. Talking about crowbarring in, here's a question for you. This is a bit controversial. The latest Judd Apatow rom-com. Have you heard about this?
No. I am generally a fan of Judd Apatow's work. So
I'll just bring up this is Friday night, guys. We don't have really a lot of the stuff planned, but we're kind of just jumping from one to another to another to another. So the latest Judd Apatow rom-com, I'm just on Judd Apatow's page, and it hasn't really come up. Is a rom-com, but it's an LGBT rom-com, and apparently it's done really, 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 really badly at the box office.
Okay.
It's called Bros. There you go. It's called Bros. Sorry, I didn't know what it was called. I wonder, is that an example? Because is that an example of something being crowbarred into a storyline that's not really that, or is that just something that you're allowed to make things that only appeal to a small niche audience? That's fine to do that as a product, or is it something where someone's taken an idea and gone, hey, let's do this. This is LGBT issues are fairly popular at the moment. Let's get it in there and see how it goes, and it hasn't seemed to have done very well. I'm just trying to bring up the Wikipedia page. There we go. Bros Films Wikipedia page.
I mean, he's a producer on it.
Okay, so the budget is 22 million, and the box office currently is 11.1 million, and it was released. I think I saw they worked it out. It took something like $100 per screen it showed in an opening weekend. like it was less than 4 figures per screen for the whole opening weekend. So it really didn't do well. And I'm not sitting here sort of celebrating that it didn't do well. I'm just interested as to what that means. Is it that, I don't know, how do you even word this question without being accused of things? That society doesn't want this story, is not ready for this story? Is that this is a minor story and that's okay? I'm sure if they made a story about, I don't know, an earwig sex life, that would be a minor story too, because not many people want to see that. I don't know. I'm just wondering what we're just talking about, based on that idea about crowbarring things into the stories, like this piece of art. Is this something that's been crowbarred in, or is this a good and interesting, credible piece of art that just not many people have seen, which is fine. Not every piece of art has to be enjoyed by lots of people. Yeah, 22 million. It's made 11.1 million. And normally when you look at the box office numbers as an idea, normally about half of that is considered profit. So that means it's taken, the production company's taken in about $5 million at the moment, and it cost 22 million to make, which 22 million to make is actually a chicken feed for a Hollywood film.
I don't know. I'm just reading the synopsis, and I'm trying to work out if the storyline comes off like Jesus. Yeah, I this movie does not sound good. It doesn't sound like it comes from a genuine place. It doesn't.
Or is it just a bad movie? I mean, has it got nothing to do at all with these? Is it just a really bad movie that no one wants to see?
There's great movies out there that haven't done very well because they've got shitty marketing and the studio didn't put any money behind it. But I'd figure that, like, I mean, I see Judd Apatow's name on something. Look, for me personally, he's got a pretty good hit rate.
Yeah, for sure.
And saying that, and I know this isn't one of his movies, but just as a yardstick for a movie that did terribly that I actually love, I enjoyed Sausage Party. And I think I'm one of the only ones.
Seth Rogen, mostly Seth Rogen, isn't it?
Yeah. I just thought that was delightful and fun for the whole family. Yeah, I don't know. Look, that movie will come across my television. I will watch it. Just reading its Wikipedia thing, I'm like, ooh, does this come? Like, if this was written by a whole bunch of straight people with things that they've heard about the gay community, very, very bad. They had gay writers, could be very, very good. Yeah, hard to say sometimes.
I would think if you're making a storyline, this is like a first, right? If you're doing a story which was like a first, which was like the first openly gay rom-com, that of course your writing room's got to be able to tell that story. Of course they have to. I mean, to not be, that would just be the stupidest. It'd be like trying to tell a story about, a gang story from Compton and getting a bunch of, white guys from Bel Air trying to write that story. You just wouldn't do it, would you?
Yeah.
So,
well, you'd say it would make sense to not do it that way, but there's heaps of examples through entertainment history where someone thought that they were going to give it a go.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can't remember what the exact numbers was, but I remember opening weekend was here we go. It made $1.8 million on its first day, which included 500,000 from the Thursday night previews. So it made 1.3 million on its opening day, and it was in something like 3,000 screens or something like that. So it was literally dozens of dollars per screen. So, I mean, but look, again, I always talk about James Coleman doing his radio show from the Plush Lounge on Channel Z. It was the best radio show in the whole country. It won all the awards, and it had a small audience. So audience size doesn't necessarily mean that, but it's just interesting that what it means, if any of that could just be a bad film and nothing else. So
I mean that Bros movie is getting good reviews.
What's the audience score? That'd be interesting, because if you're looking at Rotten Tomatoes, often you'll the audience
88%.
score. So it's getting good score from the audience and from the reviewers.
Yeah,
well, that's good.
On Metacritic, the film had a weighted review of 77 out of 100 based on 38 critics, generally favorable. So
sounds like it'll be one to watch on Netflix as opposed to go out to the cinema to see, perhaps.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap up this week and tonight. And just remember, I guess, if you want to, and we might not take any, but if you want to jump into Discord, you can do that. We've got a chance to take a few calls if people want to do it. If you don't, no problems at all. But I want to wrap up with one thing, because I was talking to someone about this just today, is about the next round of vaccines that are coming up. We've been told for a while that there is an Omicron targeted vaccine that's been released. It's actually out at the moment. And MedSafe today received an application from Pfizer. So MedSafe in New Zealand received an application from Pfizer, from the company, for provisional approval of its latest Omicron targeted vaccine. What does it do and when will it be available? Jamie Morton replies. It's called a bivalent vaccine designed to protect against the coronavirus as we first encountered it, but also against the Omicron forms causing most of the COVID-19 infections in New Zealand now. Because the updated vaccines carry 2 messenger RNAs and mRNAs, components of the virus, half of it targets the original strain, and the other half the BA4, BA5 subvariants, which is interesting because they're already talking about BQ 1.1 around the world. So I wonder if this comes out, if it does get put up, then it's going to be not obsolete, but straight away it's going to be, well, we need the BQ 1.1. Otago University immunologist Associate Professor James Usher said there's specifically stimulated populations of antibody-producing B cells that recognized each of the respective lineages. MedSafe has also received an application for provisional approval of Pfizer's earlier bivalent vaccine targeted at the original Omicron type BA1, has now completed its evaluation. One of the things I did read from here was a word that was something like how will they work. Here we go. Early data showed the new vaccine was well tolerated, had a similar safety profile to the original shot, and it says that there is a modest increase in neutralizing antibodies levels against the Omicron variants in particular. Now, I always struggle with words like modest because that's a relative term. Is it a 1% increase? Is it a 13% increase? Is it I wouldn't think it's a 40% increase because that wouldn't be modest. That would be significant. But there you go. I was speaking to someone today, and the reason I thought about that was I spoke to someone today, and I said, "Yep, I'll be queuing up for the new booster when it comes out." And within an hour of it coming out, I've seen that the new booster could be available. It was available in Canada, Europe, and Australia in August. It's mostly been available in America as it is. And from memory, the very last lines. Oh, that's right. It seems that New Zealand is also going beyond and getting over their vaccines. The uptake for the second boosters is not going very well at the moment. Just over half of more than 700,000 over 65s had received the extra dose. So just over half, along with only 2 in 10 Kiwis aged 50 to 64. So only 20% of eligible people between 50 and 64 have had the second boost, and about half of the over 65s had the second booster. So what that means, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm down for a second booster when it becomes available. But I wanted to put out there to people that it was coming, and if they're interested in it, then keep your eyes peeled. And if you're not, oh, well, fair enough. You do you, boo.
But aren't we over COVID? Isn't it over now? Aren't we back to coughing and everybody's open mouths?
I note that since the mask mandate was reduced, now our numbers are really good. Don't get me wrong, but since the mask mandate was removed, our numbers of COVID have gone up by 50%. So the weekly numbers have gone up by 50%. Did you highlight that, or did I highlight that?
I highlighted that. Like Stephen's saying, lots of chatter about long COVID being cumulatively worse with each infection. I could 100% believe that.
Yeah.
You know, like I think this has happened to me before. I don't know if I mentioned it on the show. I had a customer today. He came in, and I was like, hey, "There's something wrong with my phone." And I was like, "Okay, can you unlock your phone for me, please?" And he pulls it out, and it has the fingerprint reader. And he did this, and he wondered why I immediately went out the back and put on gloves. I'm like, yeah, you don't need to lick anything to unlock it, but we're not in Willy Wonka.
Was he 74?
Conservatively, yes.
Yeah. Licked his finger and stuck it. Ugh.
Yeah. Phones are gross, man.
Yeah, man.
Phones are so gross.
My phone is cover on it, but when I charge it each night, I have a charger beside my bed. For it to fit into the charger, I have to remove the cover. And I quite like doing that because then all the kind of bits and pieces fall out of the cover. So each morning I get up and I take it off the charger and I put it back in here. So I actually think it helps to keep sort of some of the gunk and dirt and stuff away from it a little bit. Because if you don't take it out of your cover every now and again, you get all caked around the outside edges and it's just grossly disgusting.
All I can say, Pat, as a phone salesperson, yes, take your phone out of its case as often as you like. It is all good.
Okay.
We'll see
all
you
right.
soon.
I think we're done. I think we're done for tonight. I think we're done for this week. Now, Monday is a public holiday, so there'll be no show. There may be some audio going up on Monday night. As I said, I might try and speak to Professor Robert Patman over the weekend about Liz Truss. And if I do, I'll just load it up to go out at 10 o'clock on Monday night because there won't be a show because it's a public holiday. Other than that, tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., if you're a patron, part of our Patreon, 11 a.m. At 11 a.m., we're having a bit of a group catch up for people who want to, for the one person who wants to come and join us. I've sent a message out to everybody today. If you're a patron, you can come and join us tomorrow morning. I'm sure both you and I will be having an interesting chat of the two people who will get involved with that conversation. And
you
other than that,
I'm unavailable for that, right?
I didn't mean you and I mean the one person who will come along who might be listening right now.
Yes, because I'm not even there.
No, I know you're not there. I know it's not even on your wheelhouse. So that's tomorrow morning, and everybody who's a patron has received a message from me with the link to where it is. And if people want to come and have a chat, you can. It'd be good to hear from some people to get a vibe and a feel for what we're doing and what you think. And we'll take your feedback, and I'll give it to Chewy, and he'll do it. It's pretty simple. That's how it works.
Yeah.
And that's about it. And other than that, because Mondays are public, we will be back, I guess, on Tuesday night from 10 p.m. for another edition. Anything to sign off for this week, Chewy?
Well, just one small thing. Never say to a retail worker, enjoy Labor Day. We're all working it. It's the workers' holiday. It's traditional that we're all working it. So many sales.
Time and a half day in lieu.
Yeah, we'll take the money.
Take the money.
Money in the bag.
I used to always try and work Publix when I could, like especially in radio, because it's always a different format. And normally when you're working in radio, even if you're bottom of the barrel like I always was, you get given better shifts. So you work the public holiday, you get a better shift, you get a day in lieu, and you get time and a half, and then you can take long holidays across the summer.
Yeah, see, I like having a whinge, so I'm having a whinge. And I also like the money, so I tend to work those public holiday Mondays.
Very good. So there'll be big. So there's it is, because it's almost kind of, I know that New Zealand for some reason is trying to do this Black Friday thing, which is redonkulous. But
do you know
Labour,
why we keep trying to do it? Because it fucking works, and I hate it.
But Labour weekend is often a big sale weekend as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Not for me, thankfully, where I am now that I'm out of mass retail. I do not miss those short seasonal sales, but yeah. The only one that really gets my back up is around Anzac Day sales, but that's a whole nother story.
Because of what Anzac Day stands for, you know?
Yeah, we shouldn't even be open.
Yeah, that's interesting. A proper long full day off, you mean? No, because basically the world opens up from midday, doesn't it? So people can go to the dawn service. Yeah. No, yeah, I'd support that. I'd support as many public holidays as possible, man. That's what I'm about. All right, team. Thank you for being a part of the show this week. As I said, there may be something put up on Monday night, but it will not be a live show. It depends whether I catch up with Robert over the weekend, which we've already started talking about. If there's not, we'll be live anyway from Tuesday night for another edition of Big Hairy News. And if you are a patron, then I'll see you if you want to. If you want to come and hang out tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. If you're not a patron, then you still have a chance to come and join into that conversation by simply becoming a patron between now and then. I will just make sure that I have... I'm just bringing up the Patreon page. I'm just delaying while I'm bringing up the Patreon page. I'm bringing up the Patreon page. Don't look, just look away. I'm bringing up the Patreon page. There. That was slick. No one saw that coming. You've still got a chance to come and join, be a patron if you do that tonight. Not that you have to do it tonight, but if you do, then I'll make sure you get sent the link to come and have a chat tomorrow. And remember, our conversation with Lucy Thompson, from Groundswell is on there for patrons only, as well as our full conversation with Chantel Baker there, if you want to have look at either one of those things. And if you are a patron and you can't make it along tomorrow, my intention is to record the conversation, us having a chat, and then I'll probably put that conversation up on Patreon. So that's it. That's us. We're done. Thank you, Chewy. Thank you, ball boys. Thank you, umpires. And I will catch some of you tomorrow morning, and I'll catch you, Chewy, next week. And everybody else, be safe through the weekend. If you're out holidaying and driving, be super safe on the roads. If you're out in the Labour weekend specials, then spend up. And until we see you next week, stay safe and hooroo.